Hey everybody, Scott here with Everything Starts Somewhere. Just a quick video on how to swap out the alternator on the 2019 Ram 1500. This is the one that has the computer on the top of it with the alternator right underneath. You get this off, you've got to take off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 bolts. Hold it in. Also the pulley down below, this is a limiter, so you can't move it all the way out of the way, so take these 2 bolts out to remove this little piece here, and then once that's out you can rotate this out of the way to release tension on the belt, and then also release tension here with the socket on that. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. And then under this cap is a single nut holding on the wire to the terminal that's underneath there. The casing and everything around here stays on, just this, and the wire pulls off. And over here is just one more little wire bundle. There's a little clip right here that we'll have to slide out to be able to pull that off and then work the alternator out. All right, tools needed. I got a 15mm socket on a 3/8 drive. Got a universal, wiggle, whatever you call it. Got a about a 10-inch extension right there, 3/8. Breaker bar with a short 2-3-inch extension there. 15mm box end wrench, 1/2-inch box end wrench. With that, I'll be able to get everything off. The breaker bar is to stand on to release the tension off of that bottom pulley. At the same time I'm doing that, you've got to release tension on pulley up here, and then you can slide the belt right off. It comes off pretty easy. Now you also need a screwdriver or something to pop this open so you can get into that nut that's in there. So at a 1/2-inch deep well also to get this nut out from in here. And remember, I am not a certified mechanic in any way, shape, or form. This video is just for entertainment purposes only. If it helps you, great. If it doesn't, then you can click on the next video and keep checking stuff out. Just when I was looking for videos on how to change this alternator, I was not able to find any out there anywhere. And since I put this alternator on, hoping it was the issue that I was having, and it was not, so I'm switching back to the original alternator. I figured I would shoot a video since this is my second time changing the alternator now. So just the nut right there. And this just slides out, so you can just kind of get that up out of the way. Got a couple other nuts over here now, so I'm gonna throw on the regular 1/2-inch. Get that pulled off. There was not a lot of running torque on any of these when I pulled these off last night. When I put them back on, I put just a little bit of medium strength Loctite on them just to make sure that they didn't back out on their own. The one down here, there is a little zip tie right here. If you cut that zip tie, it'll give you enough room to move this wire bundle out of the way so you can get in here with a wiggle universal to get that pulled out. So give me a moment and I'll get that set up. All right, so I've got the universal and the shallow 1/2-inch in there now, and got about the 10-inch extension on here. I'm able to get that back out. Like I said, wasn't a lot of running torque in these. Most of them, once you start to get them loose, you can take them out the rest of the way with your fingers. There were a couple that had some running torque, but for the most part, they came out pretty easily. The original alternator, when I took it out, I had to pry it out pretty good because it was stuck in here where it goes across, where those large bolts go through. So I'm just going to pull this out now. So this is the bolt, just pulled it out of there. You'll have several of these same size. Makes it kind of nice for putting them back in. You don't have to keep track too well. All right, so that takes care of those two. Got that disconnected. So I've got two down below, and then I've got to do the tensioner piece as well. Okay, next going to be one of the two bolts that's in the bottom front. So I'll get that down here where you can see it. So I just got the short extension on here, my ratchet, to go ahead and get that pulled off. Like I said, not a whole bunch of running torque on these, so it's pretty easy to pull off. Get over onto this next one. This one does have a little bit of running torque on it, so I'll keep the wrench out to get it pulled out. Just a heads up, you do have a couple of lines right here, so you can only back it out so far with the extension on there, and then you gotta get it pulled off. I'll finish taking those out and be back with the next bolts. Okay, next we have this couple of bolts right there. Those are the that stop for that bottom pulley to make sure it doesn't come up any farther than that. So I'm going to pull those off. That way I can rotate that pulley up out of the way and relieve some more tension from the belt. Then after that, I've got one more bolt right there to get out, and then I've got to disconnect that electrical cable. All right, those two are pretty easy to get to. Let me see if I can spin it over and get it a little closer. Yeah, so pretty easy to get to down here. Just two of them. Very low running torque on these at all, even though I put some Loctite on them. Pretty easy to get off. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish pulling those off, and then one more bolt, and then we'll do the two pulleys at the same time. But if you have two people available to do it, if you're doing it yourself, I'll show you what worked for me. It may work for you, may not. You can give it a try. Alright, so this is what I just pulled out. Just got a couple bolts goes through it. Probably magnesium, super lightweight. But yeah, that came out of those holes right there, and it just sits right above that to keep that tensioner pulley from moving up too far. It's out of the way, so I'll be able to relieve enough tension on that pulley now. Alright, before I take those two big mount bolts out, I'm going to take the tension off of the pulley, and from down here, you'll be able to see once I get some light on it. Right there is a nice socket for my breaker bar, so I'm going to put that in, and I'm not going to keep it down here. I'm going to point it up to the top so I can access it from the top of the truck, so I can use my foot on it at the same time, my hand on a ratchet on that. That way I can relieve tension on both of them at the same time and have a free hand to take the belt off. Alright, so I've got it in that slot, and it is going up to the top of the truck. where I'm headed now, and there's enough room to get my foot in there to stand on that. So back in just a second. Make sure you're careful this part because these do have a good bit of tension on them. You don't want to let one of these slip and hurt yourself or damage your vehicle, so please be careful. On the top, it's just going to be a socket. Set your ratchet to like you're putting stuff on. So you can see here, this one just comes over this way. It's pretty easy, just pull it out of the way. So I'll do that, and I'll stand on this one at the same time. That way I'll be able to have a free hand to go ahead and take the belt off. There may be some cool little spot where you can pull one of these over out of the way and stick a pin in it to hold it in place. I don't know where that might be, if there is one, but this worked for me when I had to do it yesterday, so I'm going to do this again. So let me see if I can get the camera somewhere to be able to see. All right, hopefully that's in a good spot you'll be able to see, and I don't knock the camera over climbing up into the truck. All right, and the belt is off. Not the worst thing ever, but it's also, yeah, not very enjoyable. Okay, so you can see the belt is off. It's just kind of hanging out over here right now. There's enough room in here to go ahead and get to those last two bolts, get them pulled out. Then pull the alternator out after we disconnect that. So this little clip pops out. Doesn't come all the way out, it just slides out and stops. And then there's a little pin right under here and one on the bottom, and this whole thing comes out right here. So just kind of work that off. There you go, so that's off now. And you can see there was just that little detent pin right on the top. There's one just like that on the bottom too that you got to be able to get that out of. So that's out of the way now, so 2 bolts to go. And these are the bigger ones. Everything's been 1/2 inch so far. This moves over to the 15 millimeter. All right, so one of the 2 main bolts now. May have to get a cheater to put on here. All right, I grabbed the handle for my bottle jack. It fits right over this pretty well, gives me a little bit more torque. And I can loosen these up now without killing myself. And these do go all the way through to the back, so they're pretty long, maybe 4, 5, 6 inches. So just a heads up on that, they are nice and long. So I'll continue to work on this. Same thing on the other one. Be back in a few. All right, these are those 2 bolts. The big ones that I just took out. 15 millimeter. They're about however long. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just lift the alternator up out of here. It may be a little bit snug. There's a pretty good spot right here. I can kind of get in and pull up on that tab a little bit to get it to loosen up to slide up out of there, but there's nothing else holding it in. So it should come up out of there pretty easily now. All right, so here's the hole where the alternator goes. It's out right now. Sitting right there. Well, this is the one I'm putting back in. So you can see a couple slots there for those main bolts. One back there, another one there, a couple down below. Belt off, you got access to all the pulleys. So I'm gonna slide the new one back in and just reverse everything. Nothing special to it. Just make sure you start all the bolts before you tighten any of them all the way down. That way you can wiggle it around while you're working on getting them slid in there.